I did, yeah.
Gringos in the house, straight out of Hialeah, no doubt. East 10th Street, where we play out. Here we bring the Miami crowd. Alex, the boy with the D. Step into rhythm, feel the heat. Street vibes mixing with the Latin tree. In our flow, the two worlds meet. East 10th Street boys, bring the party. Bring the noise from Hialeah with some joy.
Drink water like that.
Well, I'm telling you, bro, I'm focused, bro. I'm focused, man. Yeah, inside out.
You know who I am by now.
Identify as.
You know, hey. When Alex takes a shower, the dude goes for 3 hours. I mean, it's like, you know he's going to be gone for a while. You have time. Do whatever you're going to do. Go grocery shopping. Go eat dinner.
Latin spice and neon lights.
Yo. Good evening, Miami and everyone. Welcome to another edition of East 10th Street Boys, straight out of Hialeah. I'm Bobby El Gringo. That's Alex, the boy. What's up, my brother? How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. On a nice, chilly night. It's a little warmer than yesterday, but suppose it's gonna be in the high 40s tomorrow morning. So I'm just excited, man. I gotta enjoy this weather somehow, some way, somehow.
What's up, Nicky? Nick's in the house. Hey, what's up, Nick? What's up, Nicky, man? How are you? Nick's in Portugal right now.
Ooh,
so pretty cool, man. Nicky's traveling the world. So cool. The Nick's tuning in. Finn Stanza from Canada tuning in as well.
Worldwide.
Tati, of course, always watching. I'm never away. It's like Sauron's eye, from Lord of the Rings. You can never dodge it, She's always there, But, man, so much. What's up, Kat? A lot to talk about today. With the Dolphins, the Heat, life. Alex is talking about the weather up down there. It is 25 here. Probably feels like under 20 wind-wise, wind chill. Friday, might be having to work from home because we got a snowstorm coming. We're expecting about 6 to 8 inches. And
so no school, nothing.
No, yeah, more than likely no school for the kids. I know Fitzstan's probably giggling up in Canada with his 20 inches of snow.
Oh, yeah.
Usually, I'll measure the snow. I'll let you know if it's about 9 or 10 inches. I'll have to wait for everyone to look and then I'll lay it out.
Yeah, you're going to dip it? You're going to dip it to see how
dip it right in. Just, yeah, it's touching
a little
dirt.
Puddle. A little
it's
puddle.
10 inches.
I got to clean it.
Oh,
Oops.
Man.
Got to the Earth's core. My bad.
Nick has some cool news. He can't wait to catch up with. Yeah, man, for sure. I'm looking forward to talking to you, brother. I'm looking forward to what news you got coming on, guys. Again, should give a shout out to Nicky, man. Everyone who's tuning in right now, wherever you're watching, you could listen to Nick Foss's music on all the music platforms. Really, you could look him up on YouTube as well. Has a lot of great music. I think don't shrink. He won't shrink. My son gave me a Tua jersey on my birthday. First time I wore it, he gave me a Reed jersey.
I've asked him to stop.
Oh, gosh, I'm so sorry. I am so sorry.
It's like a little snow. It's like a little snow cone. It's like a little.
Got to see it through, my boy. You got to see it through. Oh man, Ray, great to see you, my man. That was awesome. Sorry about that, But yeah, we're gonna talk now. We're gonna talk a lot of stuff, man. It's gonna be cold. I'm looking forward to it. I want Ellie. I want to see how she does with the snow and everything, and build a snowman and all that. Should be fun. We'll have it over the weekend. But Tati just came from the grocery store and couldn't find anything. They need
of course.
It was crazy. She called me. I had a panic. I was like, of course. I said, I said, get whatever you can get and come home. I said, try again in the morning with another shot. But anyway, enough about that. Let's get into it. I mean, the Dolphins season is finally over. The pain will never end. I would say the pain has stopped, but it doesn't, for reasons as Ray has brought up. It's been this Dolphin season. I was listening to Kyle Krabs, who hosts Locked On Dolphins. I believe that's the podcast. Evan will correct me if I'm wrong. but
Amateurs.
he's talking about the weather, the cold weather.
Of course. Evan is swimming in snow right now.
Yeah.
He's just like,
he's a freaking Yeti. The
yeah.
dude's a legit Yeti, 8 foot tall. Basically
When he said I had today, the clients that I visited in one of our installations, they're from Montreal as well, and she's like,
Oh.
Alex, this is spring weather for me. So I'm like,
Yeah.
I know, I can imagine.
Yeah, but I was listening to Kyle Krabs, and he had said, which is so true, because we've been through the 1-17, the 1-17 season or 1-16 season, with Greg Cam Cameron and Greg Camarillo, and
1-15.
1-15.
Yeah.
And anyway, but this seemed to be the most unenjoyable, seesaw, agonizing. Like, this could just be over season.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just everything and anything that could happen was the distractions off the field, with Tyreek at the very beginning, to his concussion, to his hip injury, the commentary from the quarterback, the play calling of the coach, the offense just being not even a shadow of itself, totally unrecognizable to what we've been expecting or have seen. It was just such a drag. And for it to end the way it did, it was kind of poetic, and it was just too obvious. I mean, they had no business losing to the New York Jets, none at all.
At all.
And to come out and perform in that manner, and obviously it didn't matter if they won, because the Broncos decimated the Chiefs, because the Chiefs had every other backups, which doesn't matter. And Alex, I think you and I would both agree, it doesn't matter what the other team is doing. What if they hold the faith? You do your job. You
of
play.
Of course.
And Miami didn't do that. And then the icing on top is Tyreek. And this was the game for Mike McDaniel to let it out. Open the playbook. What do you have to lose? Show what you got and show your younger guys. And he didn't. I mean, he still played. He was doing these dump offs and these check passes and these pitches, and which Evan has been great at throwing out there. That it's like it's like a baseball game, just pitching.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous. And to top it off, the cherry on top, Tyreek taking himself out of the game, saying I'm done in the fourth quarter, and leaving, and then saying at the end, I think it's time for me. I got to do what's best for me, and man, I got to get myself out of here. Whatever the hell. Paraphrasing.
Yeah.
And be honest, first off, I don't hate Tyreek. Just like I don't hate Jimmy. I don't. I'm more grateful for Jimmy than Tyreek, because Jamie's been here longer, and he's actually, he's puts in the effort and everything else, what he's done for the finals and stuff. But I appreciate Tyreek. I appreciate what he did for Tua. I appreciate what he's done for Miami. And if it works out, it works out. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But when I read those comments, I'm like, goodbye. You don't need to be here. We don't need that in the locker room. And it sucked, man. It was disheartening, because you would hope that your number one player voted on by your peers, he won't be this year, but your number one player voted on by your peers, the highest paid player, the name everybody, when you look at the Dolphins, beside Tua, it's Tyreek Hill. That's the name that always comes up with Miami. And he quit on you. He quit on the team. He quit on your coach. He quit on his teammates. He quit on the fans. I don't care if you look at the board and you look at the Broncos have won. What's the point? I'm going to sit out. What are you talking about? So it was at the end of it all, bro. I sat there and I was just totally whatever. Afterwards I was like, I hope something happens. I looked at the Patriots. They fired, even though I thought, Jared Mayo could have used another year. I don't think that was a good situation for him. It sucked.
No.
But it makes sense though of what they're wanting to do if they actually do it.
Yeah.
But Jared Mayo got fired right away. There was a lot of changes that happened. I mean, look at the Titans.
Yeah.
2 years into Ron Carathon's, whatever his last name is, got fired after 2 seasons. He won the battle with Vrabel and gets fired, as Evan brought up earlier.
Yeah.
Which you asked me about right now because of what's going on here. No, Stephen Ross comes out, puts his feet in the sand and says, hey, we're running it back. We're going to run it back with Greer and McDaniel. I appreciate their relationship. We don't know what happens behind closed doors. We only go what's on face value, what we see out there. And, of course, that's the only thing that really matters because it's the final product. Yeah. However, he sees the day-to-day He sees
Correct.
them working together. He probably
Preparing.
saw Greer and Flores, how they didn't get along. So he's actually
Yeah.
appreciating these two relationships. But he also said in that comment, he also said in that speech or whatever, in the press, it was the whatever. It wasn't a speech, but that don't take them coming back, basically paraphrasing, as we're okay with what happened or the way it was. We're going to take a deep, hard look into this team, and we're going to make the necessary changes to make sure we compete for championships and all that whatnot.
Absolutely, as you should.
So, absolutely. And I actually liked what Jim Mora did the same thing. I wish Stephen Ross would have came out and did that. I don't know if you got to see what John Mora did with the Giants. He did the same thing. He came out and said, look, we're going to run it back with Dayball and what if it's the GM. And then he came out, I don't know if it was the next day, but he was in the press. He was on the field, and they asked him, how much patience do you have? He goes, or how long could you wait until you start seeing a change? And he goes, not very long, because my patience about worn out. And these guys have only been there for 2 seasons, one season, whatever. So I hope maybe Ross did not do that. Obviously, Ross didn't do that out there. But hopefully he did that in person, because when the Greer and McDaniel press conference came off that way to me. It came off like guys, they know, especially Greer, his job is on the line. But before we get into the press conference, and forgive me for taking up
no
time,
worries.
Man, I know, obviously, before the season, record-wise, we were both very high on the team.
Mm-hmm.
Predictions, you more than I, but still.
Yeah.
And then throughout the season, though, you were like, hey, man, they're going to make this run. Hey, they're going to, and because you had that hope. And obviously, you always like to see the silver lining. Like, okay, but, hey, I know this is not working, but watch this work. Anyway, it's all over now. It was more of the same, no effort, no whatever. There's a lot of things to nitpick, and I won't try to do that right now. But for you, what can you say about this? What's just your reaction to the final part of the season? Greer and McDaniel coming back, and then the game itself.
It was a little disheartening, not gonna lie, to watch the Jets game, our season finale. You kind of felt that in the second half, once the team was aware, once the majority of the players were aware of the score, they kind of let down, and they kind of just like let the season play out. But when I mention agonizing, it's entailing that we had the promise, talent-wise, on paper, and I felt that this was the most talented team we've ever had on paper on both sides of the football simultaneously. So it's very agonizing for us not to be able to capitalize. I do see the silver lining in regards to, I never figured they were going to fire McDaniel this year because of the Tua injury. If Tua was healthy and this team would have underperformed, I think that would have made a change automatically. But due to the fact that Tua, and you like you mentioned, in the snippets, I've only seen snippets of the press conference, in the tone that Chris Greer used when he did mention that about the offensive line, and there was a comment here about McDaniel's adapting. I'm going to look at it like this. This is McDaniel's in college. This is his 4th year. He's about to graduate. He's learned how to be a head coach. Now he's facing the situation where it's usually when you come, it could be a mesh of his personality and his charisma, but guys have to respect that. And there has to be a line, because that's also the position coaches. Obviously, it trickles down from your head coach down, but position coaches have to be held accountable too. If players are being late to the meetings, it's not only on the head coach, it's the position coach as well. It trickles down. Everybody bears a responsibility. I feel that is something that obviously will be taken care of. And you can't have too many bad apples on one team. That's another problem. Like there was a quote that I heard yesterday. It was like, you can't give a buddy a problem. So if you can't give a problem a buddy. So if you got someone that's problematic or, very attention seeking in regards to their persona and their professional athletes, you got to manage that somehow. Obviously, all these superstars are divas. All these football players, basketball players, baseball players, there's the diva within. But that's something that you got to manage. What I take that as encouragement, Juno Smith. He incorporated his tight end as a lethal weapon in his offense, finally, and we were clamoring for that. What I feel now, that obviously they have to, the defense will be healthier now with Chubb, Phillips coming back. The safety situation, there's a lot of, obviously, we know the cap is just a fictional number that can be moved around and maneuvered, but there are a lot of decisions that need to be made. What the plus is, we have multiple picks in this draft. If I'm not mistaken, we have 9 to 10 picks this draft, or maybe less. something around that sort. So we got multiple picks, compensatory picks. Now, I still think
compensatory. They haven't shown up yet, but right now, Miami has 1, 2, 3, 4, about 9, I think. 9.
About 9. Okay, so right there, you're rebuilding your depth. You're definitely gonna draft a backup quarterback of the future. You have to get a QB2. Hopefully Hundley stays unless another person becomes available and that is willing to be a backup. Kirk Cousins, Russell Wilson. There's many options there that obviously are still too early to tell. But big possession wide receiver. I think that's going to be a change dynamic in this offense. Obviously, a chain and right, and if they get another running back in the draft, there's also going to be a feature part of the offense. I want to see what the Tyreek Hill situation come. I don't think he's going to be moved. If he moved, it has to be moved early before the draft. But it's one of the things that I hate about certain players getting interviewed right after a last game of a season, of a disappointing season. Sometimes you say shit you don't mean.
10 picks. Okay, 10 picks. Thank you, guys.
10 picks? Perfect.
And I want to very quick. I'm so sorry.
Yeah,
I just want to say something because Sea Devil was telling Evan to come up on the show, but I understood what Sea Devil was saying. But Sea Devil, 12 o'clock tomorrow, lunchtime, Finstanza will be live on FTSN talking Miami Dolphins with Alan Popert, which from the All Dolphins podcast. So
nice.
He'll be talking all of this plus more tomorrow at 12 o'clock lunchtime. So grab your Jimmy John's or whatever you're going to eat for lunch tomorrow and sit down in front of your computer or your phone and take it out and tune in and join Evan and Alan tomorrow. They'll talk about their mutual love for Montreal, the Expos, their fandom for the Miami Dolphins. Obviously, what's wrong with the Miami Dolphins? They'll do all that. So if you really want to see Finstanza tomorrow at noon, he'll be live. He's very excited. It's gonna be a great show.
When I always show
up. He was just complaining how late we go, but yeah, he's gonna say that.
I mean, yeah. What can you do?
What can you do? Life, bro. But anyway, I'm sorry, Alex. Go ahead.
Oh no. Obviously, I believe finally they will invest not only money but evaluation and talent. And don't get me wrong, they've developed. I trust in the coaching staff, Butch Berry. Like they've developed a decent O-line, but you still now need to possibly replace Terran Armstead. Even though you got Patrick Paul there, you got to replace your guard positions. So Austin Jackson is going to be your right tackle. You have your center Brewer, unless something happens that I don't think will. The beauty of it is this is genuinely possibly this regime's last run, and it could be Tua's last opportunity as well. So there's a lot of lingering upon next season. So it's in everyone's best interest that everyone is on top of their game. And I do believe a team, when a team is talented, as the Dolphins are, and they don't even make the playoffs over things that are manageable, because even hear me out. Even with Tua missing time, when Tua came back, even when he was gone, there were games that were manageable that we could have easily won 11, 12 games, even with Tua out. That's the part that bothers you and drives you insane. Those are the minuscule details that goes into coaching, repetition, correction. I feel that everybody across the board, it's a line drawn, and next year you're coming with everything on deck. You have to be the best version of yourself. Every single player that wants to be a Miami Dolphin has to play to their 100% maximum capacity, talent, availability, disposition. There's no egos, because the coaching staff is on the line. And once again, now you possibly have another change at DC. So I was mentioning here, Robert Saleh, he might go back to San Francisco. He might end up in Miami if Weaver gets hired, which obviously I never want to hold anybody back from a promotion. But in being a little egotistical and wanting him to stay, this defense really performed for him. They love Anthony Weaver. Anthony Weaver's a leader of men, and he's going to be a great head coach in this league. So their change is now for sure what I think needs to be done. Special teams needs to change. I would not be surprised if Crossman is fired at any moment. that there has to be a change there. And also there's a possibility of changes in the front office with McKenzie getting like requested permission for the Titans to be president of football operations or GM. So there's movement there. We have talent in our front office. I understand Greer's the face, but there's things that need to go into effect. And if McDaniel is going to succeed in his tenure here in Miami or in the future as head coach, this is his year to show everything he's learned, maturing as a coach, because there is this thing as maturing as a head coach is very different when you're a DC, an assistant coach. When you're the head honcho, everything falls on you. So even if a position coach has trouble with one of his players, it's going to fall on you.
That's really good. There it is. Can't hire him. You don't want him. Dude, he partied with Diddy. Can't do it. You just can't do it. That's it.
Look, there's
all has spoken.
This, I wouldn't be surprised if Anthony Weaver stays. There's going to be rumblings. If McDaniel struggles, if Anthony Weaver stays as a DC here, there is going to be rumblings. If the team's struggling or if there's a problem with character, discipline, they're going to come off. So
Evan, he wants me to say it, and I was going to say it anyway, but Evan had said when we hired Weaver that we just hired our next head coach.
Our next head coach,
and that is I think that would be the case. I mean, strongly if McDaniel was let go midpoint next season, if they struggled like 2-6, once somebody said in the comments, I could see Weaver becoming the interim head coach in that situation. Let's talk. I know you didn't get a chance to listen to the press conference.
Yeah, go ahead.
I did put some notes down in regards of what was notable to me. Okay. I'm working on a Dolphins draft guide, and we're going to start doing on the clock soon. So you know me, Alex, I'm already going into that. I got a draft guide that I'm going to do that I'm I'm going to try to do it like a newsletter every week or every other week or something like that. And so that's included in the start of this.
Okay.
But Chris Greer I'll read you some of these quotes, and then you can just give me your thoughts on them after I read them.
All right, fire away.
Chris Greer on finishing 8-9 on the season. That's not the standard here. It hasn't been, and it won't be. We will be better, and that includes everyone. It's unacceptable. No one's happy. We will get this fixed. Very confident in our process. He said on previous comments about the offensive line, which we all know. Everybody has said the same thing. Where you're more comfortable with the offensive line. You're more concerned than I am with the offensive line, or we are. He says we're going to have to invest in the offensive line now. This is the time. He said on Tua's season, he needs to be available. He needs to know how to protect himself. Not being available for taking chances and risks is unacceptable to us, and he knows that. On the backup QB position, he says we were on a number of top flight backup quarterbacks around the league. This was from last season. He was saying they were in on some guys. Yeah. We were runner up for a couple of them that we wanted to get here. All those guys wanted to come here, yet they didn't. So
it was a money thing, probably.
Sure. And so obviously, Mike McDaniel follows. Two quotes from McDaniel. On accountability, he says it's important that you let guys know that we're at a point in our team where guys are aware of the expectations, and if your actions continually lead to finable offenses, that you're telling me without words you do not want to be here. He talked about how players were late to meetings, that fines were not working, that they have to figure out a way to make it known that you have to be involved, and that I will say. For me, I know Evan brought this up yesterday, and I agree with him. I talked to him on the phone earlier today. For me, McDaniel, not saying I changed my opinion of McDaniel as the GM, but I think I liked Chris Greer's answers way better than I like Mike McDaniel. Mike McDaniel came off not looking really good yesterday because of that admission, which I appreciate he was able to admit that.
He's honest. He's honest.
And hopefully he comes in full steam ahead next year and lays the hammer. I don't know how that's going to work with the players that he's already, unless he says, okay, there's some guys going to be out the door, some guys are going to stay. Yeah. He's going to have to lean on his veterans to implement that as well. You bring back Calais Campbell that way as well. His conversations with Tyreek Hill. I was very direct with him. He was very honest, discussed multiple things, including it's not acceptable to leave the game and it won't be tolerated in the future. I want to talk to you about Tyreek Hill because we're dealing with the situation with Jimmy Butler and the Miami Heat. Before we get that, you're hearing all of that. What stands out to you where you're like, oh, I like that? or, because for me, obviously I have a lot of concerns with this team going into the offseason. And, there's ways to address it. And you go, okay, obviously people are going to start doing mock drafts. I told you, if Chris Greer's the GM, you're like, don't draft the GM and don't draft a tackle, don't draft the guard. But you hear what he's saying here about investing in that offensive line. You're going, okay, all right, I'm liking that. Oh, okay, you're going to zone in on that quarterback position. And it kind of, the QB, when that statement by Stephen Ross came out, when he said, hey, we're running it back, but don't take this as we're okay with the way it went down. We're going to take a hard look at our roster and make the necessary changes. I started going, as I'm, I was kind of digesting it before I reacted to it. Evan and Neil and Brett were reacting already to it. And I started thinking, we're all looking at the wrong thing here. Obviously, yes, it sucks that, we're kind of having to stick with this. But when I looked at that, I started going, what is something that's like a necessary change or not necessary, but like we're gonna besides the GM and the coach, what would be a necessary thing that you have to get to? And that's the quarterback. And I look at Chris Greer's comments about the QB position, about Tua, you have to be available, blah, 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 kind of zoning in on Tua, and then looking at the comments about the QB position, the QB2. And I said, before those comments came out, I was saying, he's talking about the quarterback. So I was, my thought, and then when I see this, it kind of emphasized that and it kind of clarifies it, is that Miami's going to go into this offseason looking for a distinct QB2, guy who can come in
for sure
and start for you if and when Tua goes down.
Correct.
And if Tua goes down again, because that was one thing, he's like, he needs to protect himself. Putting yourself in that situation, the diving, trying to make a football play, getting banged on both hips and messing up your hips. And, it's a part of football, but his body just can't take it. So you're telling your guy, basically, all you got to do is throw the ball. Don't do anything else. And now you're kind of limiting yourself. So for me, Miami's basically saying to sorry to tell you, we're going to have to put a kind of a thing on you, because if it goes again, we're going to have to make a tough decision. Yeah. Not now, but in the future. But I could see Miami in the draft, in rounds 2, 3.
For sure.
3, 4. Or even in free agency. Guy that you might go, oh, Miami's not going after him. That guy could, no, maybe they do. So I just want to bring that up very quick, reading from what I got from those, plus the other stuff. Your thoughts, hearing all that, and then we're going to get into Tyreek. But before Tyreek, what do you think of the comments by Chris Greer and McDaniel?
What I liked about Chris Greer's comments, it wasn't kind of like just pushing it to the side. He emphasized every point that fans were worried about, that they were vocal about. And with leadership, part of being a leader, you have to admit when you made a mistake or when you overlooked something. Not that you overlooked it, but maybe you undervalued it and overvalued what you had. Like I mentioned, the O-line wasn't really an issue at times this year, but we couldn't move it down the field when we needed to. And that's part of, I think, also the evolution of Tua is you want to get a stronger offensive line to give your quarterback more time to throw within your offensive scheme. That's how you're going to get up the ball downhill. You're not going to be able to get Hill and Waddle down the field, and you only have 1.5 seconds to throw the football. So those are things that I see evolving. And when they reinforce the offensive line, I believe that's going to give the quarterback more time. I don't think they're trying to limit Tua of who he is. They're just trying to make sure he's cautious of what he's worth and what they need him to do. And they need him available. So if he can scramble, I'm sure they're not going to tell Tua, no, you can't scramble. I'm like, you can scramble, but make sure you don't get hit in your face. Well, you don't get knocked out every time you go face first. Like, there's a time and place. You're not Josh Allen that you can slide head first and you could be okay because you're more powerful than the linebacker you're going into. So those are concerns. But when you mentioned something about the quarterback, and I've been thinking it since this season, since midseason, they're going to draft the quarterback in this draft high. And people are going to be surprised. And there might be some quarterbacks that drop with, high quality quarterbacks.
Oh, there'll be guys. There's quarterbacks who are going to drop. This class is not what people were. This is a class where you can.
It's just not Ward and Sanders. It's more.
It's Malik. Yeah. It's even them. They're going to be pushed up, and Cam Ward, I think, he's the number one on my board. But those guys will get drafted because teams need quarterbacks. But
of course.
Those guys, there's a lot of guys that you can get in the third round that people are going to say, oh, that's a first-round quarterback, when really he's not. So whether it's Jackson Dart or
what a name, by the way, Jackson Dart. That's
Jalen Milroe from Alabama.
Yeah.
Those are guys that you could possibly get. And it's not a great class quarterback, but that's a perfect class for Miami because you can wait in the third round and go bam, grab a quarterback, and that's not your quarterback of the future. Now it could be, but it could be a quarterback that you develop. And maybe when Tua goes down, instead of putting in Skyler or whomever, you put him in and go, okay, let's see what we have in you. And that guy, oh my God, holy shit! Look, he blows up the game. Oh, he's amazing. Now you got your guy. You don't have to worry about it no more. If it doesn't work out, the next draft, it's a better class. Okay, I got to do something. Now you trade up, you get your guy, and now you got your legit backup and your legit starter. And you move forward.
For me, one thing that I want to see how they pursue, because the QB market this year, where I even have Sam Darnold as a dark horse going to the Giants as the QB for the Giants. I don't think the Vikings are going to play Sam Darnold what people are expecting. I think Sam Darnold is going to sign somewhere else. That's just my opinion. My thing is, I don't know if for example, Kirk Cousins is at that level already where he's okay being a backup Q, because there might be some team that signs him to a 1-year deal and to be possibly a starter, a competition starter in the preseason. So there are certain situations, there are certain veteran quarterbacks that you don't know if they're ready for the backup role, because obviously you can still have Russell Wilson. I for sure see a veteran quarterback. If they don't agree with Hundley, I for sure see a veteran quarterback that can win you 3 or 4 games if Tua goes down, and they're going to draft a quarterback high. And they're going to develop him, and they're going to have him competition. I believe every team should have a competitive QB2 that can start at any given moment in the situation. Look at even the Patriots. I know they drafted May, but I honestly like their backup quarterback. Is it Milton, or what's his name? Joe Milton.
Yeah, Joe Milton. Yeah, that's somebody I liked last year coming out.
Those are things that's a good situation to have in regards to the quarterback play. Now, all around, was I a little concerned about Mike McDaniel stating that there was certain discipline actions that were taking place that we weren't aware during the season? Not concerning, but you kind of figured it out. My only thing is, why wasn't it escalated? Because at a certain point, you have to make an example. Yeah. So first comes a fine. First comes a warning. Then comes a fine. Then comes suspension. So there was a lot of distractions and a lot of lack of discipline. And what really concerned me is when the conversation was about guys not getting enough reps during practice. I'm like, whoa. How are you not getting enough reps in practice when you got 3 or 4 days of practice, even walkthroughs? I can understand you might not go full contact in padding. I don't need Tyreek Hill to go full contact in padding, but I need Tyreek Hill out there every single day, reps with Tua. So those are things that it could be a small coach, because it's very different. You're not going to reset who the coach is. You can't be a player's coach and all that and become a hard ass. But right. you can mature and you can help hold players accountable. How do you do that? By gaining their respect. You can be cool with them. You can be cool with your players, but there's a line. Like, you could be a player's coach, but you can't forget that you're a coach. You're a leader of an organization. So the owner is trusting you. The GM is trusting you. The fan base is trusting you. I understand it's a game. It's a sport. But the number one thing with any sport or game is discipline. And when you don't have a disciplined team, I'm not saying you can't make a mistake. You can't have an outburst. That's okay. That's part of your competitors. You're going to get into a fight. You are going to get into a heated discussion with your coach. That's okay. That's healthy. But there has to be a certain level of respect. Now, the one thing, it was obvious, right? But we only heard rumblings. There was nothing confirmed about him losing the locker room or anything. So it seems to be that the team still has the respect of his team. Are they going to change? Are there going to be some changes in veteran leadership? I'm pretty sure there will. But like you said, you do need the Calais Campbell. You got the Zach Zeeler coming back. So those are rocks. Even Terran Armstead on your offensive line, that's a rock too, a support. Mostert's probably not coming back. But you have Alec Ingold. So you got some cultural pillars that you can kind of establish, even with Tua. And Tua needs to take on more of a leadership role across the board. And then you got now the situation with Jalen Ramsey. That to me is hopefully, I know he posted like a cryptic IG message or like story. I don't think he's going to go anywhere. I generally don't. Now, I know with Holland, that's up in the air if it's a contract extension or not. But I feel that continuity is important. And I really think the essential part of this team is who is our defensive coordinator going forward. I believe our next season, our offense, yes, will be up to par, but I'm writing highly on if Weaver stays or not. If Weaver gets an extension and like a raise or like an added title,
Is Alex frozen for everybody else, or is it just me?
I'm
Am I
good.
frozen?
You're good.
Oh,
I'm good. No, you're
okay.
good.
Yeah, you
There we
froze up.
go.
I was just
I
wondering.
froze
Yeah, I
up.
was just wondering. Yeah.
Uh,
I just
oh,
want to say, I just want to say very quick.
Yeah.
Because I know you mentioned quarterback and in early on, and Daniel was saying they won't be drafting a quarterback till the third day. Too many holes on this team. Dylan Gabriel in the fourth or the fifth. I just want to say, I will never say they won't be drafting anybody, and I don't think quarterback. That one of the major holes of this team, which was evident if anybody was paying attention, was the quarterback position. The backup quarterback role was a huge hole this season. I said it all last year. So for me, there's many holes: offensive line, interior offensive line, safety, big body receiver, but QB2 or QB is right there. So if there's a guy in the second or third round that is a can't miss prospect just because he's a quarterback, you draft him, and guess what? Now you have your QB2 that you could develop, that you could have back there, that if and when Tua goes down, you've got it. So we have to stop pretending that quarterback is not a hole on this football team. We need to stop pretending that it's not a major issue with this team. It is. It is. And whether you believe in Tua as a franchise quarterback, an elite quarterback, a good, great, whatever, or you think he's trash or whatever you want to call him, I think everyone could agree that the backup position is a very important need with this football team, because a lot of people, I've heard a lot of Dolphin fans and commentators say, well, if the Dolphins had a good backup, they would have won more games. So to say, oh, we have too many holes on the team to draft a quarterback, I think that is I just think that's ridiculous. How anyone could look at this team and go, no, quarterback, you don't have to worry about quarterback right now. No, you should. You shouldn't sleep on any quarterback. If there's a guy there, no matter Dylan Gabriel, I don't hate. He is, he's like a bodybuild 5'10", whatever. Say not 5'10", I think he's 6'1", whatever. But whatever. I don't mind him. But to pretend that QB2 or QB is not an issue is just laughable. He is small, I know, but I'm just saying, I don't hate him. I don't hate him. I've seen him play, and I like what I see. But Milroe, Jackson Dart, Curtis Wark, Carson Beck, Quinn Ayers, if he comes out, I didn't say you don't bring him in. I'm not saying that. You could do it to be injured. If you can't rely on him to stay healthy, then you better shell out the money to do it.
Yeah.
You're going to have to. You have to find the money. Evan says Tannehill. You better find the money. Find yourself a legitimate backup. And if you don't get one, then guess what? And I'll be saying day 2, go get it. Go. You better go draft the quarterback. If there's a guy like that sitting there in round 3, with 2 picks in the third round, go get him.
I still see both of them. I still think that they're going to get their veteran and they're going to draft the quarterback. Unless Hundley, like I said, I was happy with how Hundley performed, but I think there's still better options out there, realistically, over Hundley, depending on which veteran quarterback is ready to be a backup quarterback.
Now, what type of veteran quarterback are we talking about here? Are we talking about a Kirk Cousins? Are we talking about a Tannehill? Are we talking about – what are we talking about? Are we talking about, Russell Wilson, whomever? Or are we talking about a Teddy Bridgewater? Or are we talking about a Tyler Huntley again? Are we talking – which more than likely we will. What are we talking about? That's the point.
Rodgers.
No, God. Stop.
Yeah.
Now I'm frozen, aren't I?
Yeah, you are frozen. I see.
All right, I'll back out and come back in.
I see. It's pretty amazing. I was like, damn, he's holding his position for his time. He'll be back shortly. Yeah, but like I was mentioning before, Vikings going to retain J. I think Vikings are going to go JJ, just because on monetarily alone. I mean, they drafted him for a reason, and he was doing great in preseason. So Sam Darnold could take this opportunity as he rebuilt his worth, and now he's going to get a long-term deal because there are multiple teams that are looking for a quarterback. So Raiders, Giants, Sam Darnold's going to have a market, but I don't think the Vikings are going to overpay for Sam Darnold. I would genuinely be surprised if he comes back on a long-term deal when you got J.J. McCarthy, because obviously that's the future of the franchise. But, well, you don't get me wrong. They could sign him to a smaller extension, incentive base, but I think they're going to go roll with J.J. McCarthy next year.
So I wouldn't be surprised if they kept both of them. If they decide to stay with Darnold because you have JJ at such at a lower cost.
Yeah, rookie level.
Why not sit him back there? And then you have that, you have a 2 quarterback situation where if Darnold starts to look like the old Darnold, you could replace him. Or if he does look really good, then you go ahead and then you look at trading JJ at the next season. Anyway, either way. Josh Dobbs, no, Rodgers would not be an upgrade. No, sorry. No way. I will not.
It's the future of the franchise. But, well, you don't get me wrong. They could sign him to a smaller extension, incentive base. But
I wouldn't be surprised if they kept both of them. If they decide to stay with Darnold because you have JJ at such at a lower cost.
Yeah, rookie level.
Why not sit him back there? And then you have that, you have a 2 quarterback situation where if Darnold starts to look like the old Darnold, you could replace him. Or if he does look really good, then you go ahead and then you look at trading JJ at the next season. Anyway, either way. Josh Dobbs, no, Rodgers would not be an upgrade. No, sorry. No way. I will not.
Well,
I will not push that.
I would not put as a backup. I wouldn't mind him. I just think there's too much.
You wouldn't want to be a backup, though.
I don't think.
And it's a distraction. You already have a distraction with 2 of his injuries. You don't need another one. And obviously, McDaniel can't handle big personalities.
Yeah.
As long as he's let's just be real, right? We saw this season he can't handle big personalities. He has trouble now with Tyreek. Do we think he's going to be able to handle Aaron Rodgers? Absolutely not. So, Garoppolo might be a good answer. Josh Dobbs, I wouldn't mind. I like Dobbs. But see, Devil, before Rodgers started going on a run and he started with Miami, what was he before? Because I know a lot of Jet fans, there were Russ Morgan and Von Deck. They were all banging for him to be benched. They wanted Tyrod Taylor. Okay, they wanted to be done with Aaron Rodgers. And sometimes just because he's an upgrade on the field per se, maybe in your opinion, is he really an upgrade in the locker room? Do we really want that in Miami? How did Aaron Rodgers, as the quarterback of the New York Jets, do for the New York Jets? How did they do with him? They didn't do pretty good. So he could be an upgrade over Tua, but what did he do? And that should tell you that the situation in Miami is bigger than the quarterback, as Daniel may say, which I agree. I still think that QB is pretty a big need, but
Absolutely.
Not enough to go, let's bring in Aaron Rodgers. He's going to help this team. What did he do with the Jets? He did shit. Nothing. Why are we talking about Aaron Rodgers? What is he going to do for us? Nothing. So, no, he's not an upgrade. He's a downgrade because what he would do to your team, which is already fractured as it is.
Correct. If you take Aaron Rodgers, and by the way, I saw Enigma. It's a pretty cool in-depth. I know he is an enigma, but the special on Netflix, the 3-episode special with Aaron Rodgers, it's a pretty cool backdrop in regard, peeling the curtain and kind of seeing who a person is. And I understand certain parts of him. I can understand certain frustrations, but when you say that, he will be an upgrade as a backup Q. But what you say is what comes with him is what's going to be detrimental to the team. Because you would take him gladly as a backup quarterback for 2 to 3 games in a season. Even Aaron Rodgers at 40-41. Or you wouldn't.
I was a big advocate for Aaron Rodgers years ago, before he got cut by the Packers or traded. But what you saw when he came to the Jets,
yes,
what he is, what he's become, you don't want it. And I was talking about your opinion of it. Aaron Rodgers was not the problem in New York. Okay, C-Double. All right. Yeah, he was a part of the problem. He's not the sole problem, but he was a part of the problem. Come on now. We have I realized Sea Devil was Aaron Rodgers' burner account on YouTube. I'm just playing. Just playing. No, man. No to Aaron Rodgers. Let's stop that. Come on. Let's Kirk Cousins, yes. I'm cool
Yeah,
with
I
that
would take Kirk Cousins all
in
day.
a heartbeat. No, you got to add everything in there, dude. He's not an upgrade. Let's stop with that. And I said
Well,
you consider him being an upgrade at this point.
I'll be devil's advocate. As a backup, he is
No,
an
but
upgrade.
but we're not. He's not talking about a backup, bro.
Oh, he's talking about starting?
Yeah.
Oh, no, not at all. Not at all.
Come on.
As a backup, yes, but as a starter, no. Not
Obviously,
right
he's better as a backup than Tyler Huntley.
Yeah.
Alex. I wouldn't be arguing that. Why would I argue that?
I don't know. So it's like,
Fuck.
when he kept saying it, because now he's saying about Rodgers better than Cousins, I'm like, I'm talking about backups. I'm not talking about starters. We're like
Kirk Cousins would be
Mac Jones
as a leader, as somebody who could work with two on the sidelines.
Yeah.
If he comes in, you got somebody that's
yeah.
to me, but that means more to me than.
And Cousins has head coach written all over him once he retires. Cousins can be a great coach once he retires.
Yeah.
I just put a quarterback in the first round. Now you see that? Now that's crazy talk. That's insane.
Yeah, you see.
You can't do that.
No, it's good to have.
Unless Cam Ward falls to
it's everybody's opinion. I mean, that's cool. But I know he's talking about on the field. Maybe that's what he's bringing up and all that. And it's his opinion, and it's cool. But I think you gotta factor in everything else. You got to factor in everything. If you're saying he's an upgrade just because maybe you want to win, but does he offer you wins? Did he win? Did his 3,800 yards, 28 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, did that win you games in New York? No. They went and got Devontae Adams. They got him a star. We said they got Alan Lazard. They had Breece Hall. Everybody was looking at that roster. Aaron Rodgers, he's the savior. 2 seasons. 1 season he didn't play, got hurt right away. 2nd season, what happened? Nothing. It was a distraction. It was embarrassing. They fired the coach. They fired the GM. Let's stop that. Like, it's not even worth entertaining. Yeah, it was because Aaron Rodgers. That's all I'm saying. If they would have got the right quarterback, maybe that would have been different. But I'm glad they got Aaron Rodgers. I hope they re-sign Aaron Rodgers. I want the Jets to suck as long as they could. Nothing's better than me. Nothing is better to me in my football life as a fan to see the Jets suck. So I hope that the Jets still see Aaron Rodgers as you do, Sea Devil, and they re-sign him.
Can you imagine Sam Darnold goes back to the Jets?
That is dreaming, Sea Devil. It's not Rodgers' fault they fired the coach. Come on. What are we doing here, man? I don't want to talk about the Jets anymore. I'm not gonna, but stop it. Come on. We know what the truth is.
And Kevin, I get your point. The only thing it's a different concept because Kirk Cousins is a 35-year-old quarterback, 36-year-old. Tua just got his extension and he's 26. So that's a very different scenario. But I understand.
The injuries,
of course,
equate to that age.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because I agree with Kevin on that part. I mean, obviously, is there a guy that you could take? They fired the coach because he wore a certain lapel pin. I don't know what that means. Enlighten me, CW, because I honestly don't know what it means. Man, I don't know if there's some kind of background to that.
I believe he's Lebanese, if I'm not mistaken. Robert Saleh. He's definitely. It could be something in regards to the situation right now over there in the Middle East.
Please, with that crap. I don't hear all that. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know. But anyway, no to Aaron Rodgers, though. But Kevin, I think that's great because even look at the Patriots situation. They drafted Drake May and then they turned around and drafted Milroe, and now they're talking about having 2 quarterbacks on that roster. So okay, so that's what it was. Appreciate the clarification.
Yeah.
What did they fire the GM for then?
For sucking ass.
Because they got Aaron Rodgers. Anyway, it was Aaron Rodgers. Let's be real.
He wasn't the whole thing.
He was. He's the center of their universe, Alex.
They should have fired him was for drafting Zach Wilson.
When you started trading everybody, when they started trading everybody for Aaron Rodgers, and then it turned out that way. Come on.
I mean, we knew it wasn't like Tom Brady signing with the Bucs. Like that was a completely different scenario. So we knew it right off the bat. But it's New York. You're gonna get the sensational media. So what can you do? But we'll see.
Talk about the stupid ass Jets. I'm not talking about no dumb ass Jets. I hate the Jets, just like I hate the Celtics. Russ Morgan, co-host on the Check Down and host of the On Deck Baseball podcast. He's a Celtics fan too, not just a Jets fan. He told me that before the show. I almost canceled this show live. I almost canceled that shit live. No, just playing. I like Russ. Russ is awesome. Ride it home, Sea Devil.
Well, and
carry that Aaron Rodgers flag. It's all
corner
good.
Double up, running back double up. One of my favorite positions is going to be running back going forward with a chain and right. And I know they're going to add another third piece.
Ollie Gordon, let's go. Oklahoma State. What I say? What? Go Magic. Shut up. Man, look, Tyreek Hill. You know, we're talking about Aaron Rodgers when we got our own prima donna here, Tyreek Hill. Man, it's two superstars in less than a week asked to be out of their respective teams. The leaders of the team.
Yeah.
The ones who are supposed to lead you to the promised land quit. Or say they're going to quit. You know, obviously Tyreek has met with, or was said, McDaniel and Greer both said that they met with Tyreek. They had a honest conversation, really, you know, whatever. And then Greer said he did not ask to trade it from me. Now, does that mean it's going to happen or not? I don't know. You know, if Miami can work it out, fine. But I'm at a thing where, you know, what would it matter if you kept him or not? Obviously, he makes your team better because he's that type of player. Mm-hmm. But it's what have you done for me lately? And if you look at what he did this year, it wasn't what it was. And if he's shown you that he's not going to put maximum effort, especially when things get tough, and maybe lead by example and then quit when there's nothing to fight for, even though everyone else is still fighting, do you really want that on your squad? For me, I could forgive him. Like, if he decides to say, okay, I've cheered for him on Sundays. But if I'm running that team, Alex, I'm like, okay, let's see what we can get. It's a third rounder. Who cares?
Yeah.
You move him for a third rounder. You free up that spot because we couldn't even use him last year. You can't figure out how to use him post throwing it over the top, and you couldn't even do that last year. Jalen Waddle, you're our automatic wide receiver 1. We go look for wide receiver 2 in the draft or free agency. You go get that big-bodied wide receiver if that's what you're aiming to do, and you move on from Tyreek Hill. And, obviously you're going to take a hit, but you take a hit now, but you kind of free up that from your locker room because I don't know how you could continue after you hear what you've heard and you've seen what you've seen, because it's like if you did that once, you're going to do that again. And then, of course, he's having fun, which is okay to have fun.
Absolutely.
But with the trolling afterwards, I don't know if you saw any of the trolling part. He posted a picture. He superimposed his head on Antonio Bryant's body.
Yeah,
running from the bus. And it's cool to have fun, but at the same time, it's like, dude, read the room. So what do you because guess what? What if we do bring you back, and next year things do get tough? Do you quit on your team? That's an added distraction. So I'm at a point now with Tyreek where I'm like, I think it's really time to move on. And that's not to say I don't appreciate Tyreek. I don't like Tyreek. I do like Tyreek, whatever. But and currently with the Dolphins, you don't need that type of person in your locker room because he leads by example. He's the superstar. And you don't want that, showing your younger guys. Jimmy Butler's a different beast. We're going to get into Jimmy Butler. And he's doing the same thing. He doesn't show the maximum effort. He basically, after saying all the right things earlier, I made everybody feel, he turns around and say, "Oh, now I do care about the money," and I don't want to play with anybody, but I want to play with everybody else but Miami. And I say, "Oh, no, I was just kidding. I want Phoenix." That pisses me off. But if Miami was to come out tomorrow and say, "We worked it out with Jimmy, he's going to play out to the end of the year. Jimmy is Jimmy again," or maybe Jimmy comes back and resigns, who knows? I'll be better off with that than bringing back Tyreek. Tyreek legitimately quit on the team. And he's been teasing that all year, but he did it in this game. And that rubbed me the wrong way. How do you feel about Tyreek Hill? Would you be cool with keeping him? Or I mean, obviously, if he cool, I mean, I'm cool with keeping him if it ends up happening or whatever because of what he can offer. But at the same time, for me, if I had that choice, I would be no, it's good. Let's go ahead and move him out.
I would be okay keeping him in regards to making sure everything's in order, because I mean he's still Tyreek Hill. He's still probably the quickest receiver in the NFL. Whether this year he was struggling and he dropped a shit ton of balls that he usually catches. I don't know how much was his wrist injury that he's going to have surgery in the offseason for affecting him to a certain point. The lack of reps. So it's a lot of different factors and different scenarios that took place. I take his comments at face value in regards to him being emotional and frustrated, but it's the diva. Like I have trouble with players that over dramatize certain situations when they themselves are the ones that took joking matters and they made it that point. Even last year, he was just going for 2,000 and 2,000 yards, and they were pushing that, and they were trying to help him get it. So I understand the dynamic there, and he still could be a lethal part of your offense. I mean, he essentially can still, if you strengthen that offensive line, and Tua has an extra half a second. That's for an extra half a second for Tyreek is 5 yards, 6, 7 yards. So you have the possibility to still have an explosive offense. And I'll give you the other side of it. I would not be upset if we move on from him because I saw the evolution of Jonnu Smith. Waddle still obviously being your de facto wide receiver. They will get a big possession wide receiver. Achin, which is a de facto, is probably the best receiving running back right now in the NFL, hands down. And Achin automatically is top 5 in fantasy football drafts next year. He's legit. He's that at that point. So you have a lethal Malik Washington. We're forgetting about the Washington brothers too. With the Washingtons. I don't know what nickname
Malik
they came up
Washington
with.
For sure. Malik Washington for sure. I mean,
that's a part of your future.
Signs that he could take up a bigger. We're not saying he has to be number 1 receiver, nothing like that.
No.
He showed signs he could be a reliable weapon.
Absolutely. Yeah. You have weapons on this team.
Let me just clarify too. No one can replace Hill's talent.
No,
not a player you can draft. And to be honest, like DSG, always great to see you, brother. He says I'm not moving Hill unless there's equal value.
Absolutely.
Here's the problem. Equal values in the eye of the beholder. To you might be a first round pick. The teams around the league, it might be a third round pick. That's just what it is. You would have to hope a team like the Chiefs, the Ravens, whatever, and I don't even like sending them anywhere there, but would be hoping at the end of the draft, the end of the first round, they say, okay, you know what, let's throw a first round pick at Miami. Now you feel good about it. Late second round pick, 2/3, that might be the case. And I think that's equal. I'm fine with
that. The only thing I'll say, what really bothered me is quitting on the team and your teammates noticing that. We've had situations where certain players have quit on our team, taken their jerseys off, they've been suspended, they've been relegated. So that's not something that we fuck around with or take lightly, because there's a certain level of respect that you need to have when you are part of a team. And if you're not healthy to go and you're pushing it through and you're like, look, coach, I can't go anymore, I understand that. That's fine.
Different.
But when you check yourself out of a game and you declare that, you know what, I'm done. That's it. I'm done. Okay, then you are done. You're done. Don't come to me. Don't come and apologize at the moment. You want to have a conversation? Let's give it a day. We'll talk. We'll kind of sort something out. There is going to be a repercussion. There will be a suspension. And the only way certain players were allowed back in is because there was a team decision. Because you didn't only quit on your coach. You quit on your team. So if your team does not want you back, I will support the team because they've been through it. They've heard us out. They've gone through our practices. They've gone through our conditioning. So it's a slippery slope. And for some reason, it's been a trend as of late. Don't get me wrong. I'm pretty sure there was athletes back in the day that would quit at times on their team. But now the athlete per se is so much softer than the athlete of like the old school athlete and the persona of who they are. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm all for a player empowerment in regards to let them express themselves, let them be who they are. But you can't lose the fact of what you're doing. Okay, like you can express who you are. You can have different points of views. You are a brand. Football players are a brand. That's why there's advertisement. There's endorsement deals. So I understand that, but you cannot become bigger than the team. And don't get me wrong, I understand there are stars. Patrick Mahomes, he's bigger than the Chiefs, but he is the Chiefs, and he leaves it all out there for the Chiefs. I understand the management, and even when they haven't had that much talent around them, there is the possibility of continued development, and that they're going to get it right. Because honestly, look at the Chiefs this year, perfect epitome. First seed. They struggled at times offensively this year, but their defense was up to par. So it's a team game, and once you quit, even an offensive player, that's another thing that we didn't talk about. The defense could take a disliking to that too, because I understand you quit on your offensive team and your teammates, but you also quit on your defense. You quit on your whole team, and you see that, and that's one of your leaders. It's gonna. I will not be surprised if he's back. I think he will be back, but there are some repairing. And you can forgive a lot of things, especially a comment like that. And you come out, you retract your statement, you apologize, but it's gonna basically be rebuilding a foundation of trust with your teammates during the offseason. And how do you do that? By showing up, organizing team workouts, being in the best shape of your life, being available. And this has to be a team communal. These are one of those things that, yeah, you go on vacation with your family, but you're gonna come back early. You're gonna come back early from that vacation. You're gonna get a month before your regular start time, and you're kicking it. And it's just a thing. I also think with him, it was the offseason of turmoil with his arrest, the lawsuits, the paternity lawsuits. So it's a lot of things that you just want to clear that out and be like, let's come back fresh. Because Are we talented enough? Hell yeah, we're talented enough. Now, schematically, what can we change? And that's on McDaniel too. McDaniel, even when you have limitations, you have too many weapons to not use them properly. You can make a mistake here or there, but you cannot mismanage that the whole year. So that's the last part of the growing process, because he wouldn't throw to a tight end. And all of a sudden, in the second half of the year, Jonnu Smith was an all-pro tight end. So there's like running backs. He wouldn't use his running back. He used a chain the right way. So there's things that you can continue to grow from within, but definitely, I understand his frustrations, but you cannot just express that, especially at the last moment, because you're still going through it. I know it's an emotional response, but you need to have a certain level of maturity and control, because it affects your team long term.
No, I think I hear you, and I think you're right on the money with a lot what you said. I just want to say shout out to I see the comments there about what to do at 13. I think offensive guard is a reach at 13 at that point. I wouldn't sleep on offensive tackle who plays guard. I'm not against that at all. I think though that you could get a guy, and again, I'm still going through it, and I will be. You could get a guy right at that second round spot, or one of your third rounders, get a quality guard in that spot at 13. Unless you move down, you really could hit on a playmaker or a guy on defense. Malachi Starks, Mason Graham is another one that's a D tackle. Calvin Banks, offensive tackle, which you brought up. Duke. There's some quality players you get at 13. So I don't sleep on any position, but I agree with Daniel. What a guard at 13 is a little bit of a reach, unless you move down into the late 20s and possibly 30. Then you make a play at that point. But wide receiver,
playmaker,
any playmaker, really playmaker. Do you guys trust Paul? Here's the thing. Paul is young. He's raw. Miami knew that when they drafted him. The only reason why I would just say that Paul is probably your unless there's a guy who Miami sees as better in the draft in that process, or signs a guy who's better in the draft. I think guard is more of a dire need.
Yes.
And I'm not saying that Paul is not your unquestioned starter, but the only reason why I would say that drafting a tackle is less of a reality, and I'm not saying it won't be. The reason why I say less right, because the Dolphins drafted Patrick Paul. Chris Greer drafted Patrick Paul with Mike McDaniel. So they're going to want to see that to kind of grow. And then Austin Jackson's coming back at right tackle. So those are your
And
two
Brewer at
guys.
center.
Yeah, it's Brewer. So you got left guard and right guard.
Yeah.
Do you sign a veteran guard at left and then go draft a right guard? Or do you go and get two guards in the draft and then maybe the second, third round? I could see that. Not saying don't. I would love a tackle. Get me all the offensive line you can. I'm all for it. But I think left tackle with 13 is a reach, because they and not a reach. Excuse me, is less of a reality because they did draft Patrick Paul last year in the second round. They're going to want to see him get reps. Mason Graham is obviously, yes, that would be great. So anyway, let me see here. I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything. Let us get into, because we're talking Tyreek and how that compares to Jimmy. And obviously, Alex, you and I have been watching that. First off, did you get to see the game yesterday?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
What about Nico, man?
Ooh, and Jaquez and oh man.
Hey,
there's still well, when we get to there's a change that I want to make, but it's the epitome of.
I I just see Steve Devil's comment. It would change the franchise instantly. I don't know if he's talking about Mason Graham or if I'm afraid to ask him because I think he's going back to Rodgers. But we'll get back. We'll just stay with the Heat talk. So, we continue to wait to see the resolution on the Jimmy Butler situation. Obviously, everybody's trying to race to the quickest story, whether that is Shams, Windhorst. You got Spears. You got a lot of guys coming in, saying, "Oh, this is what's happening." Obviously, the Phoenix fans are all in love with it already. They want it to happen. People are saying, "Oh, trade Beal to Miami," and then Beal's agent comes out and goes, "No, we're not waiving our clause," and so that kind of kills it. But then Jimmy, who said he would go anywhere but Miami, and now it's like, no, he only really wants Phoenix. He said no to Denver. He's saying no to Milwaukee. So it just continues. But now you're getting the reports that Miami is saying, "Hey, we're comfortable with bringing him back," and getting him back here and getting him back on the court. Obviously, they could keep suspending him. They could work it out where they say, "Hey, man, as long as he agrees to it," they could say, "Hey, if you're not willing to do it, then why don't you just sit out, stay away from the team, let us do this, and then we can't move you. We'll try to move you before February, but if we don't, then you can opt out of your deal, and then we'll move on from there. You sign wherever the hell you want at that point." Seeing what I saw, first off, what I saw beforehand, before yesterday's game, I saw a team, the Heat lost 2 games in bad fashion. They were up more than 10 to 15 points, Alex. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Against Sacramento, yeah, they were up 17 in the fourth.
So, and that was the second time. I think the second or third time it was like that.
No, like the 5th time that they've lost like a 10+ lead almost. Yeah.
Oh, exactly. With this Jimmy situation.
Oh yeah.
To me, it looked like a team defeated, distracted. Bam looked distracted. I would still like to see a lot more out of Bam.
Mm-hmm.
Not just scores and all that. I don't mean that. I mean as a leader, as a presence on the court. I say this respectfully. I see him as an afterthought on the court. You know what I mean? He's Tyler Hero. You see him, Hero. You can feel his presence. Like, you know what I mean? You watch him, and he is everywhere. And he's Duncan Robinson, another guy. Bam is just a move. It's just a piece. Like he gets lost. Yesterday, that right there, seeing the last few games before yesterday, I was like, this is why you need to move Jimmy. You need to figure this situation out now. Cut this out, because even then they said what you said. I think Bam Adebayo was one who said it. But you emphasized what the away would do for them, being away from Miami. But Jimmy, I think maybe it was Tyler here, I'm not sure, but one of them said, "This is great. It's just us. We learned to deal with this and win together and whatever." Obviously, the first couple games they didn't. Yesterday they did.
Yeah.
So after seeing that, though, I was like, "This is why you have to stop this now. Get out of this situation now. Figure it out. Move on. Whatever it is." Yesterday, though, watching how they played, watching Jaquez, watching Nico and Tyler, and even Tyler, he wasn't the leading scorer. It was Nico, Nikolai Jovic. But, watching him, I'm going, I'm saying to myself, this is what works. This shows that if you can add that people are, if get Heat are going to lose anyway. Blah, 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 blah. No, the Heat could win, and yes, they played against a bad, struggling Golden State team. But if you look at the camaraderie and the way the team gelled and the communication, the way they work together, pass it off to Duncan hits it. Alec Burks doing his job, filling up his role. Nikolai Jovic, you're watching them do this, and you're going, the Heat could still survive this season without Jimmy Butler.
Absolutely.
You don't need some superstar piece. We need to get somebody. The same thing with Tyreek Hill. Get someone equal value. You're not going to get anybody equal to Jimmy Butler. Let's just stop that right now. Jimmy's killed his value, and you weren't going to get someone equal to Jimmy anyway.
No.
So you get 2 to 3 pieces. That's why when people go, the Heat want somebody who could help the team compete this year. They're delusional. They're not saying we need Paul George and Embiid, and no, they're not saying that. They're saying we need legit good pieces, decent pieces that's going to help us continue do the process of trying to win now, but also some complementary pieces, complementary to help us win now, in addition to assets in the draft that can help us continue to build to the future. I don't think that's too tough to ask. I think what kills you is the report that Jimmy's saying no to this team, no to this team, no to this team. He doesn't have a no trade clause.
Yeah.
The only thing he controls at that point is does he sign an extension with them?
Correct.
So you would
hope that's his no trade clause right there.
But here's the thing: you would hope that a team like Patrick Paul, I believe was Patrick Paul who went to OKC. Was that the deal where what player?
Paul George.
Paul George. That's what I mean, right?
Paul George.
Sorry. Paul George goes to OKC 1 year, and they try to work out a deal.
Correct.
And so you would hope that type of situation plays itself, and maybe it does.
Correct.
If he kind of play chicken and say, okay, we're going to wait till February, and now it's getting close, and Jimmy wants to just go and play.
Mm-hmm.
Jimmy goes, okay, just trade me anywhere. Okay, now we can work a deal. We get you to wherever, or let Jimmy take some meetings and see whatever team he likes best. Because obviously, Phoenix. What trade out of Phoenix is attractable at all? There's none, and no trade works unless the salaries match. KD is the only one.
Yeah, okay. Well, the one that matches perfectly is Beal, but
I know
that's going to take a third team. No. And the only way it's going to take a third team, the only thing that is complicated about that is Beal's agent is the father of the Suns executive. So there is a sort of a level of nepotism in regards to that. You can kind of force his hand a little bit, but they started. I didn't read too much into it. I kind of knew why they were doing it. But they demoted Beal and Nurkic. They benched them and they started Ryan Dunn, which is a rookie, which was on the Heat's radar. Ryan Dunn is a defensive stud, so it was a great pickup by the Suns. So they wanted to diversify their starting lineup a little bit, just kind of like the Bucks are doing with Chris Middleton, that was one of the names talked about if we traded Jimmy to Milwaukee. But the moment you hear Jimmy shut down like teams that he doesn't want to play for or extend, and kind of tell him, his agent tells him like, hey, don't trade for him. That also leads you to believe that Miami might be close to a move, because they were like I told you the other day, I don't think Miami's just going to trade him anywhere, but they don't have that reservation where I'm only going to fulfill what you prefer to go to. Like, we're going to make it work for you. Like, we'll make it work if we can, but we have to take care of ourselves. And you put us in this position. So first and foremost, Miami stating that they're willing to take him back is a real possibility. We talked about it, and I told you, I think still financially for the Heat, unless you can find expiring. That's why I actually like the Memphis deal, and I like the Ball and Vucevic deal, because Vucevic's deal is only a year more, so we're still clear in 2026.
Chicago Bulls,
the Chicago Bulls one. So there's going to be and the other one that I'm intrigued by is Ingram. We can get Brandon Ingram as part of the third team move, because I know they're not going to move Williamson. I don't know if you saw his windmill dunk yesterday. Williamson lost almost 25 pounds, so he's in pinpoint shape. Also, he's getting there. So I don't think New Orleans is going to move him at all. They want to build around him and Murray. in my opinion. They might move McCollum. They're going to move Ingram because they're going to lose him for nothing. So this is where Ingram comes in. Any move that's going to be for Jimmy has to be a 3-team deal unless it's like a move with Memphis. Memphis has an intriguing package where you got Marcus Smart, Luke Kennard, Brandon Clark, and some picks. So that's not a bad deal. The fact that he came and shut down Memphis was surprising to me, but I figured, okay, he's not going to sign an extension because Memphis is a perfect scenario for Jimmy. He fits perfectly with that team. They're in, I believe, in 3rd or 4th place. But I get back to the same thing. There was always rumbling that Kevin Durant wanted to play with Jimmy Butler. That's why Kevin Durant was a possibility for Miami before he got traded to Phoenix. Now, he wants to go to Phoenix. The Phoenix situation is not better than Miami's situation realistically. I know you got Devin Booker and you got Kevin Durant, but Jimmy Butler's not going to fix that situation in Phoenix. They have a depth issue. They have a shooting issue. So, by all means, if he wants to get to Phoenix, the only reason he wants to get to Phoenix is because he's been assured that they're going to sign him to an extension the moment he gets traded. So, I understand it's what the part that bothers me about Jimmy, and it's funny because I heard it today on 5 Reasons with Ethan Skolnick, and they were talking about it, is how did it change so quickly when him stating that he was okay, it wasn't really about the money. Yeah. And now all of a sudden, so when he said that, I started thinking, I'm like, holy shit, like what could have happened in a matter of 2 weeks? And obviously it had to be something that was said, something that was done between front office personnel and Jimmy, because realistically, for the non-well-trained eye, I know we have a young team in Khalil Ware, but out of all the teams we've had in the past years, this is one of the most balanced Heat team with Jimmy playing its part. Now, I want you to imagine something, Bobby. Like I told you, I figured it was only a matter of time. Hawkins was a natural fill-in. You can literally just plug in Hawkins, and I still think they're going to make one more move. Before the 7-game suspension is done, I do believe Duncan will be starting over Terry. Why? Because that facilitates Bam's DHOs, PNRs, early actions. Bam and Duncan play great off each other. And it also helps you stagger your lineups. Hero plays more with Ware and Jovic. Jovic is your de facto point guard. And the second unit, you don't have to start Jovic. There's no necessity to start Jovic. Why? Because he fits perfectly fine right off the bench, coming in with Ware, coming in with Pelle Larson might get some minutes. Alec Burks should be part of your rotation from going forward, at least 15 to 20 minutes. So there's a scenario here where I see, and even the Sacramento loss and all these 4th quarter collapses, I'm not going to sit here and blame Spo, but there is a huge responsibility on the coaching staff. Spo, when it comes to overtime games, Spo never changes his lineup. And I think that's a big mistake because these guys are gassed. And you have Nico and Duncan Robinson available. I even tweeted it the other day. I'm like, the fact that Nico wasn't on the court, Duncan wasn't on the court, to me was incomprehensible. Why? Once again, what happened? Even Khalil Ware. What happened? It was another DeMontis Sabonis offensive rebound that gave him the second opportunity, and DeMar DeRozan hits the 3. It's rebounding, boxing out. And you mentioned something about Bam. Bam is getting out to his comfort zone. One thing that I think Bam's going to focus on, that people that don't understand basketball, the common fan, when they see Bam Adebayo that scores 8 points, they think that's all that Bam's going to do. He's struggling. Bam is your anchor defensively, your hub offensively. There are things that you don't see on the box score that they're there because of Bam. Now, when you see the small efficiency numbers, offensively this year, Bam has struggled a little bit. Why? Because the Heat have changed their offensive philosophy. Layups and threes. That takes away your mid-range. I don't think they're going to go away from it completely. They're still going to encourage Bam to take his mid-range, but what you're going to start seeing now, going forward, and mark my words, you're going to see Bam being more aggressive. His free throw numbers are going to go up because that's the nature of how you open that up. And that's why I really want to start Duncan with him. Every time Duncan and him run 2-man action of the dribble handoffs, of the pick and rolls, it always ends up in a Duncan 3, a Bam layup, or Bam lob. The same thing with Hero and Ware. There are so many combinations that we haven't had for years that this team is flexible. That's why I've been saying for a year and a half. I know he was young and he's going to develop, but Niko Jovic, he's a shooter. He's a great shooter, but he's not sitting in the corner type of player. He needs to have the ball in his hands, creating. Why? He's a gifted passer. He's an unselfish player, and he's 6'11". He can see over the whole defense. So this team has the dynamics and the build to be successful in this conference. Which was a great game, by the way, the Cavs and the Thunder. Cavs are in first place in the East, 32-4. We beat the Cavs. We can play against any team. I know people, like, I'm legit trying to explain to people. I'm not trying to be a homer with anything. I know we're very young. We're going to struggle. But this team build is not as bad as people make it out to be. I don't think people really understand that. Just because we don't have sexy names and like big names, this team is very balanced and they're very deep. And Khalil Ware is only going to get better. Jovic is only going to get better. Hawkins is only going to get better. Heroes ascending.
You brought up Hawkins earlier about the natural fit. Remember, when he came out, or before he came out, when we were talking the draft and I brought him up, I was like, this guy is somebody who reminds me of Jimmy Butler, who could come in and take, because Jimmy was coming up on that deal. And you go, man, and you saw him his rookie year, and you're like, holy shit, whatever you saw in college, you're seeing the pros and just better. Yeah. And he's not gonna be, and I don't want to say he's not going to be, I'm not saying, oh, he's gonna be elite and all of them. No,
but he's gonna be a solid NBA player.
Solid NBA player.
Yeah, absolutely.
That role that Jimmy had, and Jovic, Nikolai, what he's shown the last few games, but especially yesterday. Even just like you said, now you don't want him just sitting in a corner, but even in the corner, that you can rely on him to be available and actually try to hit those shots. And I just something I explained to the kids in basketball. I even explained to my son yesterday because when we were watching the game. I'm like, look what they're doing. Count how many seconds they take to take that shot. Duncan Robinson, for instance. You saw that with Nico a little bit, or he's starting to get that on. Where you notice when a player struggles with their shots is when they're thinking too much. You just have to remember the motion. Do the motion. There's times you're gonna get on cold streaks because even though you're shooting it right, it's just not going in. And then there's times where you see Duncan, he's hitting every shot, and you're like, how does 1 minute he's so hot, next minute he's so cold? That's the thing. That's why he's so damn dangerous, because he just knows he doesn't have to think. He knows I just gotta get. He's always gonna hit it. He just needs to. He just need to get there.
Correct.
Because it's the same thing with kids, and I was showing him yesterday. Where it's like, look at the difference between Duncan. And look how long it takes him. 1, 2, the ball hit. 1, 2, shoot, done.
You're set up.
He doesn't stop, think about it, go. He just throws it up. Same thing with Nico yesterday. There was a couple shots. The ones that he missed, he took a little bit. I said, count. Would you count how many seconds on your hand? The ones in the corner, 1, 2, shot, 3, bang. It's the same thing I tell the kids in practice. I was telling this one kid, sweet boy, but cries for everything. I mean, everything. And but he hits the board, he hits it, but he misses a lot of shots. And he's it's easier at home, and of course it's easier at home because there's nobody around you. Yeah. I said stop thinking so damn much. Now I got a little harder. I was like, stop crying, stop. If you're gonna do that, you're distracting everybody. Go sit down. Just go do that. And, whatever. But I told him later when he got better, I was like, you can make it. You can make that shot.
Yeah.
Just stop thinking about it. Just follow through. You know what your motion is. Flick through. You know how to do it because you're hitting that. If you notice it keeps bouncing, get a little higher so it falls in. Get a little higher, or put a little less power so it just goes right in. But just keep doing that same motion. Stop thinking because you stop. Stop that. Look at your. I tell Tristan the same thing. Tristan, those layups that I showed you. I go, Tristan, look at those things. You didn't stop and shoot. No, you got it and shot, and you made them in. Anyway, coming back to the Heat. That's what these young guys need to do, and that's what you're seeing them. You're seeing them grow, and that's why people go, "Oh, the season's already tanked." I understand the raw emotion, with the Jimmys, and you lose these games, and yes, the Heat are having a tough run, and without Jimmy, it's easy to say, "Oh, it's all over after this for this season." Right. Well, first off, you don't want it to be over because you don't have your lottery pick; it goes somewhere else. You want to be able to be in a play-in situation, so there's no tanking necessary, or you can't tank. So drop that. That's why, you can work it out with Jimmy and have Jimmy come off the bench. Let that be his thing. Come off the bench. Or stay at home, or trade him for whatever you could get for him, and let this team grow together. Move on from him. You know, yesterday showed that you could do it. And look, Coach Spo, voted on by his peers, by fellow coaches around the league, nationally recognized as one of the best coaches in basketball. Does it mean he's perfect? No. Is Greg Popovich perfect? No. Is Phil Jackson perfect? No. Is Pat Riley perfect? Absolutely not. But he's one of the best coaches in basketball for a reason. Okay? So people need to recognize that and understand that you got to give him time to adjust to these younger guys. He's not only dealing with what's going on in the court, he's also dealing with what's off the court. You know, all the situation, all the noise, all the bullshit. And then, you know, maybe all the personalities he's dealing with, especially with Jimmy. You know, how does he react? So what you saw yesterday was a taste of what this team could possibly be, especially against the bad teams. Now, when it comes time to good teams, you got to show up. But that's the way you handle a team that's struggling. What happened with and I felt for Steph Curry. I felt for him yesterday. Yeah. Watching him. Like, he kept, I mean, that dude is, you know, Jimmy says, I'm still in my prime. Okay. But Steph Curry, even though he's up in there, he's still in his prime. He should still be on a championship caliber team. And even though he did it, and he'll go down as maybe he's the greatest shooter of all time, maybe the greatest point guard of all time. But he's going to be wasting a few years there. So that's why I understand they want to make a move for a bigger name to help him. They're going to do that. They're going to get aggressive and make moves this offseason.
Absolutely.
But notice why they're not going after Jimmy. So watching what I saw yesterday gives me cause to pause in regards to it's all over. No, it's not. Maybe we don't make the playoffs this year. But, you know, you should look at the players that we do have, and that's the other team's lost. You should feel confident about this Miami Heat team. And the world's not over without Jimmy. There's no hate on Jimmy either. I'm not saying, it's Jimmy Butler. No, hell no. No, Jimmy's one of the greatest.
It was a perfect marriage while it lasted. You knew it wasn't going to end right, but the Heat and Jimmy met at a time where both of them needed each other.
I know there's Jimmy Butler jerseys on sale in you know, I'm not about buying current players.
Yeah, 50% off. Yeah.
Go buy him.
Yeah.
You know, that's a Heat legend. Okay? It's what it is. He is. He will go to and be grateful for what you had. Be grateful. Obviously, we didn't get to finish it, and people can hate on Pat Riley all they want. Whatever.
You know what's insane that you say, like, this is a situation where which is highly unlikely, but Jimmy could take this extended break, the suspension, they can come back and they can still kill this season. But I understand now it's a little bit beyond repair in regards to what has been said, what has been done. I'm pretty sure the locker room still loves Jimmy, but they feel a little bit more free now. So it's just going to be a dynamic, but the Heat have to make that statement because it's also a leverage pool. The best case scenario for them is that it turns into a bidding war, but between 2 to 3 teams at most. Teams that are like one Jimmy Butler away from being like a Houston, San Antonio. I still see that as a dark horse. I still think there's a possibility that San Antonio gets involved. But when I heard Memphis, Milwaukee, and all these other teams were shut down, it kind of made you feel like, okay, the Heat were close to something, and Jimmy really didn't want to go there. So they're making it known, like, hey, don't trade for me. I'm not going to sign there long term. So any other team that trades for him knows that they're going to get a disgruntled superstar with a short-term rental. So no one's going to give up. But that is the business of basketball. That is leverage. The Heat are not going to get the best offer from a team right now. The Heat are going to get the best offer from one team February 6th before the deadline. That's for sure. So that's why you don't trade them right away. I don't understand people. Oh, you have to move them right away. I'm like, you have to embrace for discomfort because you cannot make a rational, you cannot make an irrational decision based on your emotion that affects your franchise. You can't trade a player out of spite. Joe Cronin gave up the pot. Think about Joe Cronin right now. That man is watching the Miami Heat play basketball, and he turned down either Tyler Hero and Jaquez or Tyler Hero and Jovic and multiple first-round picks. At that point, you're like, whoa, what did you do? Like, you turned that down, and now you see in hindsight. So I understand he's under contract. He should play it out. But this is essentially it's unfortunate because if he would have been professional about it and he would have played it out, I think they would have had a great year and his value would still be up. It's very different being a 27, 28-year-old than a 35, 36-year-old trying to get a max contract. And your exit, once again, is kind of mirroring how you exit in Minnesota, even Philadelphia, Chicago. So it's a situation where I think we'll be all right. But I'm sure that's the thing of where he's going to shoot from. So it's just said and done. It's not that he has to think about it. Where Duncan is getting to his spots. So Duncan right now is a more diverse player than the Duncan that we remember from 2 or 3 years ago, where he was in his head trying to play up to his contract. Duncan right now is the player he was in Michigan, the player that he was in the G League, where he's not a one-dimensional player anymore. So what you're getting with Duncan. The reason I say about Duncan and Bam is because their chemistry, they play very well off each other. And look, I know people might not understand this. There's some things that you cannot explain, but there are tandems that even we use. There are lineups that are more beneficial than others because they're more comfortable with one another. And they could be a less talented group. One of my best lineups is with maybe 2 or 3 of my most talented players on the team. And they're just perfect glue guys. And it works to perfection. And coaches like to run that because they're efficient. They get the job done. They rebound. They do all the small things. They know how to set proper screens. Obviously, NBA is a different elite level, but Duncan's game has evolved immensely in these past two years. And honestly, with Jimmy being sidelined, it just allows the team to be themselves more often than none. Jaquez, Jovic. If you notice, guys are playing out to their strengths. And we talked about this before. I never understood the psychological part of why is it that when your star player doesn't play, the team plays more freely? Because there's no guaranteed touches. You don't have to have a player have 20 touches, 25 touches.
You're not thinking about it. You're just going.
You're just playing. You're playing basketball. And I don't understand how teams don't do that at times, even with your superstar. If you can get your superstar, Jimmy right now, he's the highest paid player on the team. Even if he's a glorified role player for him, I don't understand ego aside, what he wants to do for his future aside. If you get him to buy into that, he still would have gotten a smaller extension and retired to Miami Heat. So there's things that,
it's just to wait it out. We'll continue to rate it out.
Yeah.
Again, as we draw closer to the end of the 7-game, right? Is it 7-game or 7-day, Alex?
It's a 7-game suspension.
7-game suspension.
Yes. They did it on purpose because they're on a road trip. Yeah. Yeah.
So as we get closer to the end of that, we'll get more clarity of what's going to be the end of that. Again, I think I agree with Alex. He had said it beforehand. I think Hero was the one who said it, reiterated that point about being away is helpful to the team. I think it's great. If Jimmy does come back in any sort of form or fashion, I don't think it's the end of the world. We'll just have to wait. I think the Heat are still in whatever position they're in, they were going to be in. And that's why, like you just brought it up, with Jimmy off the floor, they seem more freely. That's why, for me, people are like, oh, you see, they suck. Right after if Jimmy was suspended, they had a terrible game. They're like, oh, you see, not so great after Jimmy. Jimmy just got back. Check the Heat, how the Heat were doing. They were above 500 when Jimmy was off the floor. They were playing really good basketball. And then Jimmy come back. They lost 2 games. Jimmy was suspended, lost 2 games. And now you see maybe they're starting to get back into that rhythm. So I think people are going to start to kind of calm down a little bit and kind of just be patient. Give the guy some grace, and that's why, if Jimmy's traded, he's traded. I think that's best for Miami in regards to the end. But again, I don't think it's a bad thing if they can find common ground and say, hey, let's just get this to the end of the season.
Yeah.
Play it out. We're not going to be able to get you to Phoenix. There's just no deal possible. You can either do that or we just keep suspending you. I mean, this is what it is. Because if Jimmy really wants to make it ugly, he could. But that's when you just say, okay, we just have to let you out.
He's making it really ugly.
Oh, he is. But I mean, if they say, hey, let's try to work this out.
Yeah.
What I mean? He could do that. He could absolutely do that. You go, okay, well, if you don't trade me now, then at the end of the year, I'm going to go ahead and accept my option. And then you're on the hook for $52 million, and who's going to trade for that? I mean, will he do that? I don't know. I hope not, but he could. It's in his right.
Of course.
Anyway, very quick, Alex. I mean, is there any new shows you're watching? Anything else? I know you've been struggling to get to TV, but the last time we talked, you did say you're going to start watching something. Have you watched any new shows lately?
Well, it's not a new show, but I started. The Bernie Mac show just got put on Netflix, so I
Yeah.
started. I love Bernie Mac. Bernie
Did
Mac.
you watch the? You have Netflix. That's right. Have you
Yeah.
seen the Good Deeds show? No Good Deeds
No,
with Ray
not yet.
Romano?
I haven't started. I
Ooh,
haven't
dude,
started
you
that.
have to. You
I will
have
see
to
that.
watch that, Alex.
I will start that.
That is a great show, man. That I
What
watched that
is?
like
Oh
2
my
days.
god! What is the other one? I saw.
There's
Did I see a
multiple.
preview?
I'm gonna throw a bunch of shows at you.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, Alex, I'm
Uh-huh.
not even lying. These are amazing. Tati and I again watched these in a short fuse. For Landman with Billy Bob Thornton.
Oh, I've heard about that one.
Unbelievable.
Is it good?
It's so damn good. So damn good. And Landman, Lioness.
Yeah,
another
that one you told me about. That one
Nicole
you told me
Kidman,
about.
yeah, and Zoe. We finished that. There was 2 seasons of that. We finished that. The Landman is still going, but it's so freaking good.
Okay.
And it is. It's and so since I'm caught up on Landman, even though there's another episode, I'm like I really want to see it. And there was another. I know that's classic, Alex. There's a show on Prime with Billy Bob Thornton. I saw it. It had great reviews. It's only 4 seasons. It's called what's it called? Shit, I can't believe I had it. Goliath. It's called Goliath.
Okay.
And he's a down on luck lawyer. Tulsa King.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you, Tati. Has it all in there. Goliath. Todd and I just finished season 1, and it's freaking good, dude. Like I have so much. Like I know Billy Bob was a great actor.
He's an amazing actor.
I'm a huge fan of Billy Bob Thornton now, like because of those 2 shows. So just throw on if you could see Landman. Well, first of all, you have Netflix for sure. Put that other one, you'll love it. I know you'll love that Ray Romano, Lisa Kudrow show. But Tati's watching Dexter: Original Sin. That's what she's on right now. From the Dexter saga.
Yeah.
But Landman, Tulsa King's awesome with Stallone. But Landman is for sure. Like if you have Paramount Plus, turn it on, Alex. Just sit down, press play, and sit back and enjoy. And I promise you, dude. But it's bad because I'm gonna be honest with you. Like Todd and I don't even realize it. We're watching. We're like, okay, after supper, we're gonna go to bed, and you leave. It ends on the shit. And you're like, oh, I gotta play the next episode. We have to keep going. And then all of a sudden, it's like 3:30, 4 in the morning. You go, oh shit! You're like, oh no, I only got 3 hours left. You know,
it's gonna be a long day tomorrow.
Yeah, it's so guys. If you guys have not seen any of those shows yet, do so. They are so freaking good. Tati has been telling me about King of Tupelo. Some series.
I'm big on documentary series now.
Yeah,
I'm a
big
Netflix. Documentary guy.
It's on Netflix. It's some kind of conspiracy theory or something like that. Has to do with the government and I guess Elvis, something like that, being a secret agent. Something I saw, at least what I saw. I don't know what it's really about, but it looked very. Tati keeps telling me to watch it with her, so we'll have to watch that. I don't know if we'll watch it tonight, but we'll watch it. We have to watch it. She'll probably try to watch it without me, but the only reason I say not tonight because I want to start the Goliath season 2. I want to see that.
Yeah,
but we'll see. But anyway, Alex, any final thoughts, brother?
No. I mean, it's a transition. Obviously.
No.
He's the one. It's a transition. It's sad to say, but I was glad that the Dolphins season is over. I was telling my son was all excited about, making a comeback at the Jets. And I'm like, look, we're already eliminated from the playoffs. And it's one of those seasons that you just want to get it over with and, just sketch it and go on to the next one because it didn't end on a playoff. It didn't end on, on a Hail Mary in the AFC Championship. So there's scenarios like you have to go through these moments. And on this end, like if you're the Heat, there's always an ending to a beginning. So you have to go through it. It's always going to be messy. It's never going to be perfect. So you just go through it, you survive it, and you come out on top.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Guys, I don't want to break that to you. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to the Titans anyway. I think the Titans sign Aaron Rodgers, and depends on who their GM is, but they'll sign Aaron Rodgers, and then they will trade their first-round pick. They'll trade down, get multiple draft picks.
You think they're trading down?
I think they'll trade down. I mean, they should. That's all I'm going to say. But I'm just thinking right now.
I'm just thinking Giants will bite because I know Giants want Cam Ward or Giants want Sanders.
That's what they say. That's what the media says.
Okay.
I'll just tell you what I think about them all. But Bobby
So
wants to shout.
you think Hunter ends up to the Patriots?
He could. This is the year. That's to me. This is not a good year to be at the top of the draft. And I'm not hating on Cam Ward. Love Cam
Yeah.
Ward, and he is my. Yeah, I have a first round grade. Do I think he should be number one? I think he should be number one because I'm a Hurricanes fan. I'd love to see him be number one. Will Levis to Miami? That's not a bad backup option. Young guy, I don't think that's a bad idea. But anyway, to me, the best thing to do if you're in the top of the draft is try to trade down. Look at the Giants, look at the Browns, look at the whomever, the Raiders, call the Raiders. Hey, you want Shadir Sanders? Trade up. And just go ahead and do that. But if I'm the Titans, I would be hard pressed to draft a quarterback. I would be looking elsewhere. I'd try to move down. Bobby was clinically despondent. He didn't get his Buffalo game. Clearly despondent. Oh, because they lost to Buffalo because they didn't have the chance to play in the wild card. Yeah, I always want the Dolphins to go to the playoffs. I'll never root for the Dolphins to lose. I'm unapologetic about that. What changed? A lot of people didn't want Dolphins to win because they thought McDaniel and Greer was going to get fired. What changed? They lost. They got eliminated. Are they fired? Nope.
No.
At least I could say I didn't root for them to lose.
One more year.
One more year, I guess.
Woo.
But I didn't root for them to lose. I never will. Am I disappointed in Miami? Hell yeah.
Bob,
did I think they'd get their ass kicked? Yes, I did. But I'd rather them get there and pray that they could win. But you'll never see me begging for them to lose.
One quick question. Your take before it becomes official. I don't want to say it's official, but you're Mike Vrabel. I know it's a foregone conclusion that New England is going to be interested in you, and they already interviewed the minority candidates to satisfy the rule. If you're Vrabel, do you take the Patriots job over a Bears job, a Raiders job, any other opening? What would you? Because I know people think it's a foregone conclusion because of his history with the team, and I would not be surprised if it's not.
Well, I don't think it's so much a conclusion now because of Ben Johnson. The Patriots really they fall in love with Ben Johnson, the OC for Detroit.
Gotcha.
If I'm Mike Vrabel, what do I think is the best opportunity? Obviously, the Patriots job would be appealing if I'm talking about as Vrabel as not just as a former player, but also as a coach, because they got two quarterbacks, not one. And obviously Drake May's QB1, but it's the aura, and obviously he's not going to fire you after this year if you F up. Because first of all, you're the hot piece, and he just fired Jared Mayo. If he fires Jared Mayo after 1 year and then fires Vrabel after years, like, why'd you fire Mayo? You should have just kept it. So to me, it's like you got a little bit of a job security thing there. So the Patriots would look pretty attractive if I'm Vrabel. However, again, looking at the teams like the Raiders, or even like the Raiders, especially because they don't have a quarterback, you got an early pick, you try to get your guy, or Bears, more than likely, just because the Bears, they got their guy. You got a young, talented team. You just add pieces. You could be the difference maker. Correct. So I would say Patriots 1, and then Bears 2. That's what I would put. Vrabel and the Raiders don't sleep just because of Tom Brady. You were saying Bill Belichick, but it's Tom. I think Mike Vrabel makes a lot of sense with the Raiders because of Tom Brady.
Yeah, and you can end up Raiders. Got the 4th pick?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay, so they're for sure getting a quarterback if they want a quarterback.
Yeah, they're going to be
unless they sign. Interesting.
Yeah,
nice.
Good point.
Food for thought.
Oh man. Keep rigging it out, boy. Just keep rigging it out. Anyway. Oh man, you guys. Anyway. Guys, we are at 11:21 p.m. Eastern Time, 10:21 for me. Appreciate all who tuned in to East 10th Street Boys Straight Out of Hialeah. A lot to talk about. Love the jacket. Is that the Christmas gift?
That's the Christmas gift for my daughter. That's the one she got me.
Nice.
Dolphins one. It's a hoodie too, so it's nice and cool. So, there you go.
Brave of you to wear it. No, I'm just playing. Cool. I wear my gear too. I have no shame. I had my you know what sucked is that the day after the game, the president of my company came around, saying hi to everybody, and comes over, and I was just on my computer doing and he just comes up and touches me on my shoulder, and goes, "Oh, what happened, Tua?" I'm like, he doesn't call me Tua. I get called Rock, Tua. I got all these nicknames at work. Well, so we start talking. But in his morning message, of course, as soon as I open up, he always sends a morning message, and very great morning messages. Really, truly, you'll sometimes they go, "Oh, damn, man, that actually kind of hit."
Yeah.
But this one was you talking about Tyreek quitting, and talks about like you don't quit on your team and this and that. I was like, oh damn. So he was like, yeah, he goes, I woke up, or he's somebody like you, Alex, where he'll wake up at like 4 a.m, work out, read his Bible, do all this, and he's an early guy. He always says that's the best thing you could do, and is wake up early, go exercise,
work on it.
Go read, journal, all that stuff. So he said, yeah, he did. He woke up and he he went on his phone or whatever, and he saw the Tyreek thing, and he went, oh, he goes, I thought about that, and he wrote on there in his email, Miami Dolphins, not a fan. And he goes, I almost didn't want to do that because I have become a fan of the Dolphins, which is funny because when I met him, he was a diehard Patriot. He's a Tom Brady fan, so he hated the Dolphins. So me and him would go at it all the time. But now he's like, you can tell me, because I'm gonna be honest with you, I kind of like Miami. So he's like, he's telling me that. I was like, yeah, but you still put it though, you prick. I was like, but it's all good. I get it. But it was fun. I love the Dolphins color with black. That's clean.
Oh, which clean. I am hoping one day they get a black jersey. That would be a nice little blackout.
That's the thing I'll say, Stephen Ross. They need an owner who's fun. They need an owner who's willing to say, let's do some different. Let's do a jersey like that. An alternate jersey that's fun. And do something like that. But when we get there, we get there.
Yeah.
Waiting for you, baby Ross, whoever his daughter is. Until then, guys, that's Alex the Boy. I'm Bobby El Gringo. Appreciate you all tuning in. Like and subscribe, and good night, Miami.
Peace.
Bobby El Gringo's in the house. Straight out of Hialeah, no doubt. East 10th Street, where we play out. Here we bring the Miami crowd. Alex the Boy with the B. Step into rhythm, feel the heat. Street vibes mixing with the Latin tree. In our flow, the two worlds meet.